Hello, welcome back. Christopher Taylor, Sovereign Harmony. Hope you're enjoying the first few days of this summer, 2016. Today is, I think, June 26th, Sunday, in San Diego, and just wanted to give you an update on some things happening here and a little outlook for the summer that's coming up here. One big thing this week on the 29th of June is going to be Mars moving direct. Woohoo! Oh my God. It has been since April when Mars went retrograde. It's been a little bit stuck in the mud, kind of in energy, and I think a lot of us are going to really see some relief as we move through July and August relative to what kind of March, April, May into June have been for us as far as moving forward with our purpose. Okay, and that's kind of what I want to refer to the summer of 2016 as kind of the summer of purpose. And we're going to talk about how Mars going direct is a big part of the timing of us actually being able to move forward. Okay, so just a quick review about the Mars retrograde specifically. If you remember in my previous videos, Mars entered the shadow of the retrograde, so the zone in which it was going to retrograde, in about mid-February, I think February 17th. And so from about that point until April 15th, 16th, 17th, whatever it was when Mars went retrograde. So for a couple of months, Mars was in the zone and it was kind of previewing. So mid-February to mid-April, preview of what needs review before we can move forward with our plans, our actions, our projects, things like that. And so the time period from mid-April up until now, up until Mars goes direct this week, this has been the period of that review, of reviewing all the things that were brought up mid-February to mid-April. And now we're going to be entering the final phase of the retrograde, which is the direct phase through the same zone that is retrograded. And that'll be from June 29th right on through about August 22nd, I believe. So for just under a couple of months, but pretty much the entire summer, Mars will be fixing things, okay? So the things that we couldn't get pushed forward, suddenly push forward. So I think we're going to experience quite an acceleration. Not immediately, because Mars, it's back into Scorpio right now, and so the Scorpio waters are deep and precarious, and it doesn't really move too well in Scorpio, all that well. So it won't be until Mars re-enters Sagittarius August 2nd that things will really accelerate. Okay, but before that, there's still good news because Mars is going to be moving forward. It'll just be kind of one step at a time, but we'll notice every time we look down at the speedometer that we're going faster than we were the last time we looked. And so it's this really steady acceleration throughout the month of July. And then we hit August and it's just, we're in fifth gear and we're flying, okay? And so that's good news because I know it has been rough. I know it's projects that we've been wanting to get pushed forward this past spring that just didn't work out for one reason or another. And some of that could be relationships that couldn't make it work, that, an association or business partnership or something that we just couldn't get the fine-tuning for. The timing was off. And the whole point of this time, these last few months, has been to get real about what it is we actually want to do and get real about how we stand in our own way to do it. Because Mars moving back into Scorpio is this great review, this deep review of how do I make myself stumble? What are those inner things in me, those inner doubts, and those that reflect themselves as actions in the outside world that actually prevent what I'm on an ego level and on a spiritual level through my ego trying to create in this world. So if our creations feel stuck and have felt stuck, that's the whole point of what we've been going through, is to figure out what's getting them stuck. And it's always the same old answer, and it's something in here. So when we figure it out on the inside what it is that, how we're contributing to our own prevention, which we wouldn't think, we wouldn't ever consciously do that, but there is an unconscious aspect of the self that can self-sabotage. If we have old beliefs that no one's going to really like my idea, or I'm not worthy to really have that kind of money anyway, or I'm not really fit for relationships and I'll be alone my whole life, or that kind of thing. That those things that just aren't true, they unfortunately have to come up. And that's what we've really experienced the last several weeks, especially with Mars back into Scorpio, is that self-talk. But it's for the purpose of seeing it, recognizing it, and having a chance to make a different choice. So choosing something else rather than choosing our habit. And so we're really breaking our habits. And that we're at a place right now where we're just ready to go. We've explored our habits. We've explored how we've been preventing ourselves from moving forward. In the next few days to a week or two, we're going to just notice this switch from, trying to, kind of being waiting period to actually starting to move. And it's the first time I've been able to say that in a while. And it's just the energy. It's nothing to do with you, nothing to do with any of us. It's the energy and the timing of where we're at. And so understanding that just helps us to appreciate the value of the time that we have. And in this case, appreciating the value of being able to uncover what prevents us from going forward is going to do wonders for us when it is time to move forward, right? And so that's, just use it for what it's worth, instead of seeing it as a frustrating period of, I'll never get anything done, nothing's going to work out, or those kind of mantras that we can say, because the window is really opening here, and it feels really fast, really strong, really powerful, and it's this sense of alignment with our purpose. And the themes of aligning with our purpose started back in the fall of 2015. Jupiter entered Virgo last fall, and in October, November, it started making some aspects with some of the other planets, like Pluto, like Chiron, and also once we got into early 2016, it started to connect with the North Node and South Node of the Moon. So very, very important shifts that are going on. It also was squaring Saturn, okay? And so Jupiter in Virgo, which is going to be finishing up its job in Virgo here over the next couple of months, and it will be entering Libra just after Labor Day, so in early September. So part of this theme of these next couple of months is not only things moving forward, but it's what we've been building slowly since last fall with regards to getting in line with our purpose. And so it's all this work we had to do to really figure out specifically, because Jupiter in Virgo is specific. It's not this willy-nilly open field. It's, how can I harness the energy into something focused and specific, okay? And so that has absolutely been growing since about October, November. So we've been meeting different people that can support our aims. Maybe before October, November of 2015, we weren't quite meeting the right people, or we felt like we were kind of on our own. But October, November, we started to meet the right people. We started to get in line, get on that bus, get on that train toward what we're building. But it just wasn't the right time to really move forward with it, because we've had to really develop it over this period. And the good news is we're pretty much done with that development period. So you can think of this summer of purpose, summer of 2016, as the finishing capstone to that aligning with our purpose that started in the fall of 2015. And it all aligns with Mars going direct at this time. And so it's really, I feel like, a really positive energy for us on a personal level. And on a collective level, you're going to see, rapid developments in the world. We just saw the Brexit, United Kingdom's exit from the EU, kind of a surprise to some people, but something like that, things like that, where rapid changes in world structures start appearing, and people say, what? I didn't see that coming. Kind of like the Berlin Wall. I think people thought that was going to stand for a lot longer than it did, and all of a sudden it kind of dissolved, and then with it, the Soviet Union dissolved a couple years later, and we're kind of in one of these zones where quick things are happening. And so I think this summer we're going to see a lot more changes. And it's interesting in the US anyway, because it's an election year, and this summer is kind of the lead in to the fall, which I'm going to save the fall for later. I'll come back with another video at the end of the summer for the fall. The fall is chock full of interesting energy, let's put it that way, of surprise endings, sudden shifts, this kind of thing. I think we're going to see some surprises in the US election that we just don't see coming. Right now, it looks like it's Trump and Hillary, right? That's what it looks like right now. I don't know what it's going to look like in the fall, but it suggests that, this energy suggests that things are going to move really quickly through the summer, and whatever's going to come out is going to come out by surprise later. That's a different story. I want to focus on the summer, and this is a summer of purpose again. So we have done a lot of work since October, November, and what is it, June? So like 8 or 9 months of really kind of soul searching, getting serious about what it is we can do, like what kind of service we can provide, who we really are, what really works for us and what really doesn't, getting realistic with ourselves. So we haven't been in a dream world in the last 8 or 9 months. It's been really about just getting real, and it has been frustrating, especially during this Mars retrograde. And so as early as February, March, in fact, February, March, we might have got excited about our prospects, kind of mid-February to early to mid-March. Things were exciting, we were building. And then we might have just felt a cutoff once we got to like late March, early April, into May. And then it's almost like, well, what is this really going to work? May was this particularly harrowing month with Mercury retrograde in Taurus, albeit. So that's a very slow energy as it is. So that time period allowed us to slow down to a speed where we could actually see more realistically, and we needed that. And now Mercury's full force motion forward. It's moving. That's not an issue anymore. It won't retrograde again until September, at the end of the summer. And Mars again is going to be switching into gear on June 29th. That's this week, just a few days from now. I think it's Wednesday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And again, it'll start a little slow. It'll take a few weeks, but we'll notice little by little that we're going faster, and then it hits Sagittarius on August 2nd, and whoosh! Talk about moving toward the future, almost in an uncontrollable way, like whoa, what did I just say yes to? That's kind of what it feels like. Kind of like we're been looking for opportunities the last 8 or 9 months. Like, I want opportunities, I want to make this real, I want to do this. And then this period came that challenged us to really focus on what it is, and it's actually helped fine-tune it, and we'll see that in retrospect. And then this summer kind of happens, and we're going to move to July, noticing things just falling into place, little like faster and faster. And then we hit August, and whatever we're saying yes to is just going to instantly form itself. And we're going to find ourselves in the midst of kind of what we've been trying to work on suddenly presenting itself to us. And it's like, unless we get over where we're at now with Mars and Scorpio, any self-prevention, anything that we're doing to sabotage our moving forward, we should be okay. But that's the importance of right now, is to get over that stuff, to get at that stuff, and just heal it, essentially. See it, know it, feel it, heal it, let it go. That's really the lesson for right now. But again, the next weeks coming up are really positive. When we get into August, and Mars re-enters Sag August 2nd, it'll be in the shadow still until August 22nd. So most of August, it'll be in that fiery Sagittarian energy, really fast moving. And with that, we're actually going to have the next round of eclipses, as well as the next Mercury retrograde in September. So I think there's a lunar eclipse in Aquarius around mid-August, like August 18th or something like that. And then September 1st, there is a new moon eclipse, solar eclipse, right in Virgo, okay? And then we'll have another lunar eclipse a couple weeks after that in mid-September in late Pisces. And so this is really a huge window of essentially all this building of getting in line with our purpose and then accelerating toward it this summer. We're going to be just landing in it, because the eclipses are like open door portals in a way. And it's kind of like even though we're moving fast in July into early August, some doors won't, they won't open until we start moving. It's almost like we can say, I want to have this happen in the future, and we start walking toward it. And it's only when we get there, it's like an automatic door, right? The door looks closed as we're walking toward it, but then it opens. And that's kind of what this is. We're going to be accelerating toward a door, saying, oh shit, I'm going to hit the door, I'm going to smash my face, and then the door opens. And so that's the energy of this acceleration into August. And that lunar eclipse in Aquarius is really just this energy of kind of, recognizing your uniqueness in the world, okay, amongst the world. It's this idea of the collective individuals, okay, individuals in the collective. And there could be a sudden awareness of what your specific skill is to offer. And then it's immediately followed by this solar eclipse in Virgo. And again, there's that theme. Jupiter's been in Virgo this whole time. So now we have this solar eclipse in Virgo just before Jupiter exits Virgo, like a week before. Okay, and that's September 1st, and then about a week later, Jupiter will exit Virgo. So it'll be done, essentially, with aligning us with our purpose. And so that new moon solar eclipse is really the beginning, okay? So it's like we're building, we're frustrated, we're letting go of why we can't make it happen. Then we're accelerating toward it. We're like, uh-oh, am I on the right path? And then boom, doors open, and then we start. that purpose. Okay, and that's what happens around September. And when we get to mid-September, when the next lunar eclipse comes, that'll be late Pisces. This is going to be a really healing sense, okay? And that'll happen right after Jupiter enters Libra. And so Jupiter's entry into Libra is going to be this shift too. That's around September 9th. And this will be, as we're coming toward the end of the summer, Jupiter September 9th, followed by about a week later with this other lunar eclipse in Pisces. And it's this real sense of expansion and growth in our relationships. And so any frustrations we've been having with relationships, business, personal, whatever it is, we're going to start seeing that the work is done, and it's actually time to now indulge them. And that will be September and getting into this fall time period. And I think we're going to see on a global perspective, collectively, this really represents, Jupiter and Libra really represents communities, nations, collective groups figuring out new ways to interact, to relate. And so maybe this Brexit thing is, like I said, it might accelerate. Maybe there's more nations that want to separate from their union, whatever their unions are, or states in the U.S. might suddenly want to separate. I heard Texas is starting to rethink their talks about secession like they have for a couple centuries now. But that, who knows what could happen there. But there might be this sense of like a new way to relate globally that could develop from the fall of 2016 into the summer of 2017. Okay, and so that would be a development. But the idea is that the work we've been doing is about to bear its fruit and start here at the end of the summer in September. So we just trust the acceleration. I think it's funny that we get frustrated when we're stuck, like we have been the last few months, and then we can get scared when we're accelerating and it's going too fast. And that's going to be what we're going to experience these next couple of months. And the idea is to trust, just trust that you're on, you're in the right, your sails are hoisted in the right direction, and you're getting pushed where you need to get pushed. And so that when we get to September, especially on the other side of these eclipses, with Jupiter entering Libra, that we're ready to, bring our skill to people and relate to people in a new way, in a more expanded, growth-oriented kind of way. And that will lead us up into the fall months, which again, I don't want to get too much into, but with Saturn, Neptune, I didn't mention that too much here. It's active. Saturn square Neptune is active right now. It'll be ending in September, and it'll be around that time that I'll kind of update you on what's happening, and that'll bring us into the election period. But so that September time frame is the last square between Saturn and Neptune, and might as well talk about it while we're here. And so that's going to be the capstone of this energy that started at the very beginning of the holidays last year, so like Thanksgiving, Christmas time of 2015. And so this is a cycle that began back in 1989. In fact, when the Berlin Wall fell, that was around the time that this started. So it's interesting because it's a similar kind of energy. Like we said, there's things falling, structures, Saturn dissolving, Neptune, all right? And so what we always believed, Saturn in Sagittarius, suddenly gets challenged, it has to be released, Neptune in Pisces, okay? And so the prevailing belief, for example, with the EU is that it's only going to grow in power and that no one would want to leave it for economic reasons and that kind of thing. And that, as an example, we might see more countries splitting. We might see in other parts of the world where there have been attempts at top-down governance of splitting down into more sovereign units. And so when I talked about Jupiter entering Libra in September, at the end of this Saturn-Neptune cycle as well, within days of each other, this is the sense of a new way of relating. So it's maybe smaller sovereign nations are relating in a different way. Instead of uniting under one common umbrella, they're just learning how to relate differently. And with modern technology, we have the ability to communicate across long distances at once with everyone if we want, and that's something we didn't have even 20 years ago for the most part. So there are ways to connect without having to be under an umbrella, legally speaking. And I think this is part of this sovereign harmony awakening that's happening in the world in general. That's where I get this term from, this idea of dropping into sovereign connected units, sovereign wholes of the universe, essentially. And that's the way to harmonize. It's when we take away our sovereignty, when we get into codependence and we need connections in order to not be separated. That's the discord. That's what leads to things like war and lack of resources and that kind of thing. So I think we are the energy is definitely heading toward this more sovereign harmony, and we're going to see the breakdown of big units of organization, essentially. So the bigger the unit of organization, the more likely it is to break down. That's what that goes for government, business, whatever it is. So I think we're going to start seeing a collapse over the next several years, not just coming here, but this is just a preview of where we're at with this energy. But anyway, so going back to us, what we're doing personally, just know this week, June 29th, Mars direct, it's good news. We're going to move forward. Things are going to get fast and scary, just to put it bluntly. So we've been frustrated and slow. Now we're going to get fast and scary. Just go with it, because those portals are going to open here in mid-August to mid-September with the addition of the finishing of Saturn, Neptune square, and Jupiter entering Libra. And we're going to find ourselves in a whole new place by mid to late September. Okay? And Mercury's going to be retrograding the first 3 weeks of September. So big surprise. And guess where it's going to retrograde? Virgo. So it is kind of the finishing touches in September, early to mid-September, of this aligning with our purpose. Okay? And it's good news, because by the time we get to October, we'll be making some big decisions about which way to go with it. And I'm going to leave it at that. So have a great summer. If you have any questions, let me know. Please feel free to share this with anyone. And if you're interested in private consultations, I'm available for that as well. Anyway, so enjoy this fast-paced summer that's about to kick in here in the next week. And just focus on what your purpose is, what you've learned it is over the last 8 or 9 months, and just trust that the steps that you're urged to take are the ones to take, and go from there. Thanks a lot, and we will see you again at the end of the summer, and we'll probably have a lot of stories that will represent this energy. So until then, enjoy.